So, like the first speaker, I also grew up in Scarborough. And Scarborough is really where I learned how to be a neighbor and also what a neighborhood was. We moved there when I was 5, and there was actually a welcoming committee and a welcome wagon. I'm not kidding. There was also a street garage sale, which my mom organized every year. There was an active neighborhood watch community. There was a neighborhood fun fair with fireworks. I thought it was amazing. I was friends with my neighbors. I knew their houses as well as I knew my own house. We'd run around the neighborhood and felt like we owned it. And so while my view of it and my childhood view of it is very rosy and Pleasantville-esque, it's also worthwhile noting that I learned at a really young age what rape and sexual violence was, not out of personal experience, but just because when you grow up in Scarborough during the Paul Bernardo years, that's what happens. So that fear was instilled, but I still felt I had ownership over where I lived. And I felt that there was a community of lovely people who I knew their names and they knew who I was and where I lived. But then, after about 10 years, my parents decided it was time to live somewhere more central, maybe more accessible for us to go to school, and they wanted a slightly bigger house. Because you always dream about having a slightly nicer place. So we made a big move to North York. So from one suburb to another, this one only a 10-minute subway ride, 10-minute bus ride to the subway instead of an hour. And so when we moved to our slightly more upscale neighborhood in North York, there is no welcome wagon. There is no welcome committee. People turn their noses up at the idea of a street garage sale, and everyone is very polite. And so surrounded by these new people, who unfortunately, because they're so polite, I still barely know their names, I must say that our backyard became our sanctuary. While we did have a couple of friendly people nearby, we felt that that's where we were truly ourselves. And it was lush. Our neighbors had so many trees, we felt like we were in a little oasis. And it felt like our space in the city. We had moved away from where we felt a sense of belonging, and that was where we felt great. And so in this oasis, we actually had a favorite neighbor, and that neighbor had so many trees, it's like their backyard was a forest, and you couldn't even see their house. And I don't know how they got this house, but they were hippies, and they would play bongos horribly. And then every once in a while you get like a whiff of something that made my dad nostalgic for his youth. And they were like the people who just talked with us, like, hey, you want to come over for a swim in like our backyard? And they're like, oh, it's cool, man. And my mom would be like, they're too stoned to move. And so we loved them because they were just there and we couldn't see them. It was great. But then one summer, a couple of years in, as like all good things, we'd come back from a trip once and it's all the trees are gone. And we felt exposed. We're like, what? This is our space. We're not supposed to see them and they're not supposed to see us. Like, what is going on? And so that summer, we have no idea where the hippies went. But the 70s have been gone a long time, so maybe they captured them. And they completely took out all the earth and they put in a pool, and we were really confused. And then the next summer, our neighbors get settled in. And I had just come home from university, and the two things my mom and I were obsessed about for a couple weeks was, are those kids ever going to stop screaming? And number two, where did they get that hot pool boy? So it turns out hot pool boys are not a thing in North York, sad. I was just a really fit father of the screaming children. He was so fit and wore Speedos. So like, hero. So that was, yeah, we knew Speedos pretty well. And so soon after, it was my brother. I had just finished university, and my brother had just finished high school, and he asked if he could have his friends come over to the house for a barbecue and pool party, just as I had when I graduated high school. My parents said, yeah, sure, your sister's going to watch over you. And my parents stayed, because they're lovely, and so we had this party. But my brother's friends are a lot smarter and maybe just more mature than mine were, and they figured out the importance of BYOB to your friend's parents' house. for parties a lot younger than I did. So even though the party started early, it was pretty rowdy. Like I saw some couples get together that ended up being together for a while, just watching over this party that's happening. And they're having fun, but it's not too late. It's just starting to get dark. And all of a sudden, we see a head stick out from the hedges, and suddenly the pool boy is dressed, and he's drunk, and he's very angry, and he says, "Shut the fuck up! I'm calling the cops! Shut the fuck up!" And so we all stop, because we'd never heard this before. We're like, oh, we turn down the music, we're like, sorry. And then my brother's drunk and really genius friend is like, "No, you shut the fuck up!" And we turn down the music, and half the people go inside before we hear one more, "I'm calling the fucking cops!" And we're like, oh my god, it's 9:30 p.m. Sure, everyone's drunk. And so my dad and I, who were outside and also drinking with the teenagers, decide to call the cops because we were really worried, because in Scarborough, telling someone I'm calling the cops, you don't joke around with that. So even though we're in North York, we're like, okay, we're going to call the station, make sure everything's okay. And so we call the station, and they're like, it's 9:30 on a Saturday. We're not coming anywhere. And we haven't had a complaint, and no, you're fine. And we reviewed the bylaws. We're like, are you sure our neighbor complained? We're really worried because we're surrounded by very polite people. This is serious. And so no, it was fun. And the party was great. It remains, as my brother would say, so legendary. And so the next morning, having this practice in Scarborough, being really active and good neighbors, my mom and I are like, oh no, we have to make something up to them. So we write them a handwritten card, and we make them brownies, and we're about to go outside, and we hear our pool boy screaming at my father. And my dad hates confrontation so much that if two other people are fighting, he's going to leave the room. And he is not losing his ground, and the man is screaming at him, he's like, no more parties! My dad's like, actually, we're allowed to have parties. And he's like, no more, I can't sleep, my kids can't sleep. And he's like, well, you woke us up at 7 this morning, so I don't know what to say. He's like, and also you cut down all your trees, when are you going to plant more trees? He's like, no, this is my property, I don't need to put more trees. I know planners about the trees. And then he's getting really angry, he's screaming at my dad, no more parties, no more parties. My mom and I take the brownies, go back inside, and we're like, no, this is now a war. So because after it's like our oasis had been invaded, and now we have this turf war of someone screaming at us in a speedo, we're like, we're not backing down. And so a couple weeks later, I planned a party with a few friends, and I think there's someone here who's actually there, and it ended up being a surprise birthday party for my friend Dave. And because I was in my early 20s at the time, we thought we were so much classier than 17-year-olds. We're like, we're not doing beer pong. So we're having fun, and we bring out a cake, and as we're singing, happy birthday to, shut the fuck up! We're like, oh my god, we're singing happy birthday. Our neighbor ruined Dave's birthday. And no one says anything, because I told everything about this crazy neighbor to my friends already, so we don't react. We just turn the music down a little, and we're like, oh, we'll just keep going. And he puts his head out of the bushes again later, like, I'm calling the cops! And we're like, yeah, no, you're not. So at this point, this is really when tensions arose, and my parents were so happy when we had friends over, because their kids really did scream, and they had music going from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., so we felt we owned the night shift. And so I was they're like, oh, you want to have friends over? Yeah, anytime. You want a drink? Cool. Just keep going. Stop it at 11. And they even had a party of their own at one time, and we placed bets as a family, are they going to scream, shut the fuck up? If you hire a 4-piece, string quartet. So my parents actually had, my dad's work party. They, hate having parties at the house for, their friends. And they're so no, we're going to do this. And everyone's like, okay, fine, it doesn't have to be a restaurant, it could be at your house. So they hired a string quartet, and it was really classy. And so so we all bet as a family on each other. We all lost because there wasn't any screaming. But the next night, the loud neighbors, they had their own party, which was like all like Russian and like vodka shots and I think like something ended up on our yard. And so at this point is like the contention is growing really high and this like frustration with each other. And our family at this point, when you're like a teenager, when you're finishing university, you think you want to break away from your parents and you want to do your own thing. You're like, whatever. But it's like we were bonded as a family about how much we hated these people. And every time something, even that might have been a slight diss, we like call or text each other like, you won't believe what happened. And my mom was convinced they would play their radio facing our backyard when they weren't even there. Just to piss her off. She's like, I was gardening and I had to listen to Russian pop music. It was horrible. And we came up with these horrible plans. We're like, oh, could we shoot their dog with a BB gun and no one's there? And a lot worse things. And we're like, maybe we could just tape them because they were so loud and like just leave it blaring if we leave for a weekend. I think you've all thought of other things. And especially because you felt like so invaded in our space. And so finally, the summer's coming to a close. Can't have any more pool parties to retaliate. There was a few more shut the fuck up, so I'm gonna call the cops. This never happened. And there was a few times that outside of our backyard that we actually did have, not confrontations, but at the local Longos, I remember I was with my mom once, and the other like woman just turned and walked away. And there was so much attention. So finally, the summer does end. My brother moved to university. I moved to another city, and that was like our bond for the summer is how much we hated these people. His neighbors, sorry. It's very judgmental. They're still there. And finally, my mom called me, and she's like, you're never going to guess who I saw at the kid. And she's pretty dramatic. I'm like, I don't know. Who did you see at the kid? And she'd run into like old friends of theirs who are younger than my parents, and they hadn't seen them since they had their second child, as happens. And she's like, we saw Kelly. I'm like, great, you haven't seen her in years. How's she doing? She's like, they were with our neighbors. I'm like, yeah, oh. So they went up, like, Kelly, how are you? I haven't seen you since your wedding, or something like that. And a kiss, hi. And then they turn around and they see who's sitting with them. And like Kelly and her husband, unbeknownst to like the dusters that are going on, are like, oh, if you live in the neighborhood, you should probably know our friends. This is Romanoff. He's number 27 on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And this is his wife. We're like, oh, that's nice. And then they sit back, and my parents run away as fast as they can, and they sit back down at their table, and Kelly comes back to them, and she's like, you're the noisy neighbors? I can't believe it. And we're like, what? We're the noisy neighbors? They're the noisy neighbors. And really realized that Romanoff was probably telling all his friends and teammates that we are the worst, just as we're doing the same. So it begs the question, like, who were the noisy neighbors? Or even in your life, who's the noisy neighbor if you're complaining about your noisy neighbors? Because we all construct like a narrative where we're the good guys, or where we're being put upon. Now, no matter what actually happened or is still happening, we just realized that an off-season NHL player decided to do a 2-month face-off with his neighbors. We still cross our fingers as a family every trade day, NHL trade day.